one thing that I really like about it, and I remember the first time you mentioned it just briefly to me,
Yeah.
it stuck right in my head because it's so positive, and the impact of like positive language and like setting goals can be hard and motivating yourself can be hard, but when it's like I need to win the day, it's like how do you not want to do that?
Yeah.
Nobody doesn't want to win their day.
Look, hell of an intro. I tell you what you in for, but I never really been the type of dude to give no info.
Welcome to the Walk and Grill Show, everyone. It's Ronnie and Courtney on the mic, and today we're going to be doing things a little bit differently. We got feedback from many different people, and of course, when we went into hibernation, this was one of the things that we were talking about a lot, which is, how could we get everyone to implement? It was a lot of times, at least I got a lot of feedback when it was just like, yeah, these are great conversations, great for the mindset, but it's like, how do I apply any of this stuff? So we're going to be from here on out implementing what we call tools of the month. You'll get this every single month at the end of the month, whether it's hearing from me, what I'm doing, Courtney, what she's doing, or maybe somebody that we meet does something like it's like, whoa, you got to talk about it on this episode. So we're going to be doing that, and we're going to kick it straight off with something that I use. Courtney was like, hey, I got to put you on the hot seat for this one because you talk about it all the time. I see you post about it, but you never really dove deep into it in terms of what it is that I do. So first and foremost, I call it win the day. Now you can put whatever name you want to it. There is no real special name to it. I call it win the day because it helps me not even psychologically or just kind of it puts my mindset. It's just something that I know I have a reference to. And what that really entitles, it's every day. Well, I shouldn't say every day, but the night before, I'll put out 5 tasks that I must do for the following day. So if you're not the type of person to plan your day, before you go to bed, then just do it the morning of. Does again put whatever tools, tricks, whatever you want into this. It doesn't have to go with how exactly I'm doing it. But the night before, I'll go ahead and write 5 things that I must do throughout that day. And throughout the entire day, I know that these are the tasks that I have to do in order for me to win the day. Now, the goal is always to win the day because every day you win, you get to then win the week, and then every week you win, you get to win the month. Now, if you win the day, you win the week, you win the month. What do you think is coming next? Yeah, you won the year. So if anybody ever says, "Oh, how was your 2023?" Ha ha ha, try to joke on you, you could tell them, "Hey, I won my year because you had something to follow to help you guide and give yourself some sort of guidance on how exactly you're going to win the day." Now, I will say this with an asterisk because this isn't something I thought of. This isn't any brand new strategy. I actually heard it from Andy Frisella. If you guys don't know about him, he has a podcast. It's called Real AF. And I think it's episode 16. Don't quote me on that. But if you want to even go listen to how he explains it, you can go ahead and do that. But that kind of summarized the tool of the month right then and there. Is win the month, and we can take it a step further. I want to stop there and see if Courtney has any dire questions that she has for me, and before I go further into it, because I don't want to lose you guys.
um not not right away, but just some comments and thoughts. I feel like there's so many places you can go from there because, like we had talked about, it's goal setting. It's one thing that I really like about it, and I remember the first time you mentioned it just briefly to me.
Yeah.
It stuck right in my head because it's so positive, and the impact of like positive language and like setting goals can be hard and motivating yourself can be hard. But when it's like I need to win the day, it's like how do you not want to do that?
Yeah.
Nobody doesn't want to win their day, so the language is so powerful. And did that's what he called it as well on the
Yeah.
podcast.
So I
Okay.
think the podcast name in itself is Win the Day.
Okay.
Um, which you guys can check out. And I chose 5. Again, you guys can choose whatever number works for you. If you have a lot going on and you really only find yourself completing 3 tasks effectively, then do that. But the goal is to choose a certain number, stick to that number, don't compromise it just because the day gets hard. Don't get me wrong. There's days where I don't complete all 5, and that's okay. You're not going to win every single day. Now if you do, you're a machine at that point. And I don't think any of us are machines. We have emotions, we have things that pop up out of nowhere that we have to take care of. So choose a number that you feel most comfortable with and allow that number to be that number until you can then increase it. And this is something else that I do as well, because again, the part of it is what I use it to build habits, but at the same time to complete tasks. That's really what I use it. And having 5 there, if I find myself doing it without hesitating or even having to check that off my list, I immediately remove it and include something else that I need
Mhm.
to incorporate into my day or as a habit or just a task that I need to do. So if I feel as if something has now become just a natural habit, again, I think it's
Mhm.
after 90 days or whatever number, 2 weeks or whatever number it is
I thought,
that
yeah,
to
I thought it
build a
was
habit.
21.
I
I thought it
don't know.
was
I don't
21. I thought it was 3 weeks, but
whatever number it is. I
yeah.
think everyone's different, but
Mhm.
whatever number that takes for you, once you've built that habit in, that's another way you can really use this tool is just to build habits or to complete tasks. But the goal is to choose something that you know is going to help you. Don't just choose things just because you know that it's, like, for instance, um, there was one time I had entirely post on social media because if you guys don't know, I suck at it. I hate it, in fact. And so I had it there to remind myself, post, post, post. Now I do it, and now I pull my camera out. At least my phone, I pull it out much more than I typically do to capture the moment because now I've installed something to just remind me to just do it. So it helps on that aspect, not only just completing tasks, but even building habits at the same time, which I think is something that many people forget to really
Mhm.
do and try to implement. It's the habits. The
Mhm.
habits is what's going to really take us to the next level.
And building routines and like forgetting how important it is to have routine, and not that your day has to look the same every single day, but routine is
Yeah.
super important.
Mm. It's
Definitely.
it's how we really get to figure out, how are we most effective. We're gonna have a guest here on shortly, and he does this. I mean, you think I'm bad? He's way worse than me when it comes to like just really understanding himself, his body, his routine, his schedule, and to making sure that he knows what keeps him in good spirit, what allows him to work effectively, take advantage of the time that we all have. And so, yeah, I mean, this is just one of those things that can really help you just take away the nonsense that really, I guess, that comes with this world that we
Mhm.
9 times out of 10 probably don't really want around us or want to deal with.
Yeah. Just shifting your focus and like, these are the only things I need to accomplish today. I don't need to worry about all the other stuff. And yeah,
Hmm.
that's cool. I was going to ask, you kind of already answered the question, but so it's 5 things a day that you choose, and you have to accomplish all 5 to win the day.
Yep.
So, okay. Because I know the way that I would think of it as well is, of course, this is going to be my next question. Depending on what types of things you're choosing, um, you could say 5 things, and if I do 3, I win the day, and everyone can kind of personalize it. But like 3 out of 5 things, especially if you're struggling to do any or struggling to build any sort of routine, that could still be a really good accomplishment for some people. And I was kind of going to ask again, you answered this a little bit, in terms of like brushing your teeth is not going to be one of
Yeah.
them because you do it every day,
No, no, no.
things like that. But just to be clear and have an idea of, okay, what are some good goals or what are some good routines to build. I know you just gave an example of social media, but is there anything else that you feel like for people it would be consistent for a lot of people that they'd have on there?
Yeah, working out or doing some sort of physical activity. Um, I've built it into my schedule now that I have 4 days a week I'm walking. I don't put that on there because I know that's what I have to do, and I've already implemented that. I never did put it on there. Didn't feel like it's needed. It's because I understand myself. But if you have a really really tough time getting to the gym, put that on there, and that way you know that you have to check it off, and if that's what you need to go ahead and make sure you can do it, then go ahead and do that. Another
Mhm.
thing could be reading, right? So these don't have to be massive tasks. They could be a task where it's so small but it really helps you move the needle for the next day. And if you want to take it a step further, I read 10 pages a day, or a
Mhm.
chapter a day. That's it. I cut it off because then I start to lose my train of thought, my brain goes elsewhere. So I limit my reading, but it's, hey, just having it there and just whatever it is that's going to help you move that needle for tomorrow so that you could say, yeah, I'm 1% better than I was yesterday. I mean, that right there, you're unstoppable. Can no one touch you there? And if
Mhm.
someone tries to touch you, just slap them off, say, don't touch me, I'm unstoppable. You know what I mean?
Trying to win the day.
Yeah, exactly.
My bad. Yeah, no, that's
And I
cool.
want to touch on what you said though, because you said if you have five, but you only did three, did
Mhm.
you win the day?
Mhm.
Me personally, no, I
Mhm.
didn't win the day because I
Yeah.
didn't I didn't check everything off my list.
Yeah.
So depending on how you really visualize, did you win majority of the day? Absolutely. If you did 3 out of 5, yeah, you won. The math is going to tell you that. But did you, in my personal opinion, did you win it? No. Which, again, if you can't find yourself doing all 5, start with a smaller number. And then, of
Mhm.
course, if you're finding yourself knocking one thing after another and it's no problem, then hey, increase yourself. Give yourself a little challenge and then see if you can do it there and just work towards it. Again, it doesn't have to start with 5. The number
Mhm.
is yours, but don't cheat code yourself. I mean,
Mhm.
this is really for you. This is
Yeah.
you're not going to hurt me if you don't do it. I promise you that.
I'm gonna go back on that a little bit because a lot of times in starting goal setting and just starting routines and things like that and how difficult it can be, um, I can see value in having 5 options kind of, and especially like we said, again, this is starting from scratch, starting from like these are 5 things I really don't do but I'd like to. If you can get 3 of those done, that's an accomplishment.
Mhm.
You know,
Mhm.
that is for sure winning. So, and of course you want to be able to do all 5 at some point, and I know you've been doing this for a while, so it's a little bit different. But if you have 5 things that you'd like to accomplish and you can get to 3, if you can get to 2, or even just doing one more thing than you typically do, especially if it's bettering yourself, I definitely think there's value to that until you can build up that routine, until you can be more consistent with it. Um, and I was also going to add before, just like you said, like 10 pages. I think a lot of times, and I do this too, it's like, oh, I do not have an hour to go to the gym. Or I
Yeah.
do not have a full half hour or whatever it is. And it's like, go, like you said, walk for 10 minutes. Just do something for 10 minutes. Every time I go up my stairs at home, I'm like, I could just go up and down these stairs. Like every time I'm like, there's no reason I shouldn't get some sort of exercise in when you have stairs in the house.
Yeah.
So just things like that, like 10 minutes of just movement. So yeah, just breaking things down. I feel like, and I always go back to language, but I feel like we just make things so big in our brains that it's like,
Mhm.
ah, I can't do that today. It's just not going to happen today. And it's like 5 minutes, 10 minutes,
Mhm.
and you can still check that off.
And
But
so I want to touch on what you said because I don't want people to compromise too much with win the day aspect of it. The goal
mm-hmm,
is, yes, challenge yourself to the point where you know that you are being challenged. Don't challenge yourself to the point where you're losing your mind, you're giving yourself anxiety, you're giving yourself, don't do that. But
mm-hmm,
challenge yourself to the point where you're like, okay, this is going to be a task. Like this is going to
mm-hmm,
be something I must do because it's
mm-hmm.
not going to be easy. So,
Yeah.
yes, if again starting with 3 or maybe starting with 2, if you want to start with 1, go ahead, but of course
Mhm.
we can all get one thing done throughout the day,
Yeah.
especially if we
Yeah.
write it down. So that's why I say
Mhm.
don't I personally would say start with 3 just to give yourself a little bit of wiggle room to work with and
Mhm.
have that be your number. Maybe it's 3 things, and if you're consistently over the course of a week or 2 months or 6 months just knocking those 3 things down, then hey, maybe it's time to bump it up to 4 and see if you can
Mhm.
take that as a challenge and see if you're doing that, then hey, go to 5. Me
Yeah.
personally, I probably won't go beyond 5
Mhm.
because I think that's a great number for me. If I go
Yeah.
beyond that, it's just the day aspect of it, but 5 is a sweet spot for me.
Mhm.
And I'm keeping it honest with you guys. If I can get all 5 done before 12, oh, best believe I'm doing whatever the heck I want for the rest of the day. I've
Mhm.
won the day. There's no one
Yeah.
can touch me now. I'm like I said, I'm untouchable. I did the 5 major tasks that I must have that I must do for the day. Now I can
Mhm.
freelance. I could go do whatever. I could go party if I want. I could go rock climbing. I could go do anything, anything, because I did those 5 tasks. That's really gonna move the needle for tomorrow. And I think that's another way for people to kind of have that. As I like to say, I don't think there's a such thing as balance. So that's one way that I try to incorporate balance into my life is incorporating these tasks or these habits that I want to do to help me
Yeah.
create that sense of balance that I'm looking for.
Mhm. That makes sense. Has there ever been a time where you're like going through your day, maybe you did 3 or you've done 4 already, and you look at your list and you're like, why did I
Oh,
put that on there?
of
Like,
course,
I do
all the
not want to do
time.
that. So how do you get past that like motivation hump or mental block?
And I'm gonna be honest with you. It's day by day. I'm not a superhero where I'm gonna look at it and say I gotta do it. Whoa, no, that's
Mhm.
no. Let's be realistic. If I see it and I just know, all right, let's get it started. And if I don't
Mhm.
finish it, then it just doesn't get checked off.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be brutally honest with yourself, because no one's going to be brutally honest, more honest than yourself. And that's just how I am. If I get it done, I do. If I don't, I just don't. And sometimes you got to fight through it, and that's just it. Because again, everything that I put there, they're not just tedious tasks, they're tasks that I have to do regardless.
Mm-hmm.
So if it doesn't get done today, then it just gets pushed off to tomorrow. And the more and more we do that, the more and more work we add on to ourselves. So even if I don't complete it right then and there, or I don't start it, it just goes on to tomorrow, which means something else has to get shifted for the following day. And I don't like to be too much behind. So I'll probably, in that case, it's, why did I do that? Why did I put that on? Oh, damn.
Mm-hmm.
I'll probably start it just to get it going. And then hopefully I'll throw it on there tomorrow, and then I'll finish it off. And then we can kind of just go through the rest of the week or the following day as already, um, I guess, laid out.
Yeah, yeah. And I think I'm still thinking about like language and how language matters in that situation. And one thing I've seen a lot on like just like Instagram and TikTok and things like that, where it's like, oh, I go to the gym every day,
Yeah.
not I have to go to the gym not I have to go to the gym, but I go to the gym. And just the shift in your brain of like, no, this is something I do every day. Like I have to take this time. And even for some people, it might be your 5 things you need or your 3 things or whatever it is to win the day. This is going to happen at this time. This happens at this time. This will be best after work. This will be best. If people need that extra preparation, that might be helpful to get those things done as well. But just um, I thought it was interesting hearing like shifting that language to this is something that I do,
Hmm.
rather than like, oh, I have to go to the gym today.
Yeah.
It just it just gets you in that space of like, oh no, I do this, so there's
Mhm.
really no choice. And then going from there, and it, like we said, just helps to build that routine.
Right.
But
And if you're trying to incorporate this and you just want more dialogue, more conversation, just DM us, win the day, and let's talk about it. I mean, like I said earlier, I could take it a step further with you guys, and I'll go ahead and do so. With how is it that I track all of this stuff? I mean, if you want, use a sticky note. I mean, put it somewhere where you're gonna see it and check it off your list that way. If you're trying to be, as my girlfriend will say, OCD and just keep track of everything the way that I do, then you could take it to Notion, which is it's like a Asana, or it's like a platform where you manage. At least I manage myself there. But most people will use it for like project management. And if you want to take it to that step further, which it enables you to check it off right on your computer, right off of your phone, right off the app. So you can do it that way as well. If you want that, just DM us Notion as well. Not don't DM us when the day. DM us Notion if you want that, because I'll be more than happy to share the tools and stuff like that that we're using. And I say we're because there's a group of friend of mine that we all started using it just because we see the value in it. um, but that's something that you guys come up. But I really want to hear from those individuals that are really like looking to implement this, and just DM us win the days if you're listening to this and you're like, yeah, I'm gonna try this out. So we know, and we can all keep each other accountable. I think there's nothing better than that, just having each other accountable, so that we can make sure that we're taking the action steps needed. Because this is what you guys wanted, right? You wanted action steps, huh? So you're gonna live up to it.
here we are. Here we go. Yeah. And I was just gonna say one thing. One thing that I do with my clients a lot is just understanding like what's gonna, if we're not thinking about it, if we're having a tough day, if we're like super struggling to get out of bed or whatever the case may be. Remember, I have teens, so they don't always have jobs, and
Yeah.
so struggling to get out of bed is a real thing for a lot of people. But what is something that can catch our eye? So if we're not spreadsheet people, if we're not, you know what I mean, these fancy platforms or whatever it is,
Yeah.
I'm not necessarily on the computer. If I'm not working or recording, I'm not using my computer.
Yeah.
So just things like that. And I know you can do it on your phone too, but anything that I do for me, even this type of thing, I would make it fun. I would give it a cute background. I would like decorate the whole thing. And honestly, what I do a lot is, I'm not saying everyone has to be this way, but I will print it and frame it
Mm.
and put it up on my wall, so it's something that I see every day and I have
Mm.
to walk past it. So
Mm-hmm.
I have like a workout, how many times did you work out this week? I have like a weight loss, like all different things like that. Just making it fun. And once you put it in a frame, now it's a dry erase.
Yeah.
So you can check it off as a dry erase. So that's, I have my to-do list framed, like just making it ways that you know that this fits me now. This
Hmm.
is something that I look at and it makes me happy, or I can, you know, it's more motivating to get things done rather than if you are not a spreadsheet person, if you're not, you know, working that way. But do you have any other like recommendations for, because you know how you are and you know
Yeah,
not everyone is that way.
yeah, yeah.
Other ways that people can do that. I know you mentioned a post it, but
Yeah, so I mentioned Post-it, Notion, but I mean, we all have, for the most part. If you do, I mean, if you don't have an iPhone, I'm sure in the Android there's somewhere, but we have a reminders app. I
that's
mean,
true too.
I didn't use it until a buddy of mine. He was like, "Yeah, I use this app to just remind myself when things I have to do throughout my day." And I'll just tell Siri to, "Hey, oh, my Siri might go off." I'll just tell Siri to just remind me, "Hey, remind me to go do this at this time at this whatever the task may be." And that's an easy one that we all have for the most part. Now if it's not the reminders app, I don't know what it is exactly for the Android, but that's something that you can easily do. You have notes in your phone, right? So if you want, you can just put it in the notes in your phone, whatever day it is, put the date on it. We all have a calendar on our phone, so that's another one you can use. And if it's not your iPhone calendar, you can go to Google Calendar. So I mean, the list is just on and on and on. It's gonna really be based on what the person likes to do and what the person is interested in, what is really what fits their lifestyle. But there's tools everywhere. There's very little excuse or reason why someone can say I can't do this, because at that point in time, if you're telling yourself you can't, it's just because you don't want to do the work to do it, and that's okay. Your life, you do what you want.
Mhm. Oh, I was gonna say calendar as well, and I'm not a very techie person, but that's one thing that has helped me a
Mm,
lot is when the iPhone, and again, I'm not sure about Android, but I can imagine you can do things like this. When they switched it to you can like add the widgets and make them bigger on your
yeah,
screen, I
yeah,
automatically put calendar right there because then it's right in my face, the
yeah,
things that I need to get done for that day, and all my bills are like right on that
right there.
calendar. So as soon as you pick up your phone, it's like, oh yeah, I got
That
to
could
do
be
that
stressful,
today.
don't you think?
But
You look at
it's
your
more
bills.
stressful if I miss it. It's more stressful if I forget.
That's true.
So yeah, it's not fun, but I'm definitely gonna be more stressed if I forget to
Yeah,
pay them on time.
that's
So
fair. No.
so it helps me, and of course for me everything is color coded. So I got my big record in all all caps today, but yeah, just things like that help me. And again, like the colors and however you need to see it, but yeah. So another thing I wanted to mention, of course, I got to take it this direction because I like to
Ooh.
see all different perspectives and kind of just, like you said, this is easy. And if you don't do it, it's because you're not putting the effort in. And in my mind, I'm just like, oh, there's so many reasons people might struggle with this, So, and I agree with you, right? It takes dedication, it takes perseverance, like just focusing on what you want to do and get it done. Um, and it's great that you have that mindset. It's great that you're able to get to that point, but unfortunately, some people are not, and it takes a lot more time. And I was just having this conversation recently where it's like I have all the information, I know exactly what I need to do, but
Yeah.
for some reason I don't do it.
Mm.
So like getting past that hump. So um, one thing that I was going to ask is, this is such a therapy question,
Yeah.
is your a little bit of like your self-talk, or what that sounds like when you don't win the day, when you don't get all five, when you don't
Uh-huh.
win the week,
Yeah.
or what that looks like.
Yeah. I don't get over myself. I don't, I don't drown myself in anything to the point where it's like I'm hurting myself in any sort of way or fashion. Again, the goal of this is just to keep myself accountable and also to help myself progress day by day. I'm not
Mhm,
looking to win the year when the year starts.
mhm,
I
yeah.
want to I want to kind of get real small and narrow and specific for a reason, because I can only
Mhm,
control today to a certain extent, right?
mhm,
We can only control oh so much. So it's, hey, how is it that I can at least win today, so that by the end of the year I can say I won the year? And these are just by
mhm,
doing these small little tasks. Go. If I don't complete something, or if I don't win the day, I don't win the week, I just go back and look. Okay, what was I doing
mhm,
that didn't enable me to do what I needed to do? And
Yeah.
so it's always reflection. That's essentially what it's going to come down to. It's I reflect to see, all right, well, why is it that I wasn't most effective here? Oh, maybe it's because I went on vacation. Okay, that's fair, right?
Mhm.
That's understanding.
Yeah,
Or maybe
definitely.
it's because we had something go on. There was an emergency, right? That's
Mhm.
understandable. But if it was just me because I didn't, or maybe it's just wasn't in the mood for a few days.
Mhm.
That's perfectly fine. But I don't get over myself. I don't get, I don't Debbie down myself at all. There's always the next day you can look forward to. And again, it's just the goal is to win as many days. There's 7 days out the week. In order for you to win the week, you got to win at least four.
Mhm.
You got to. And so
Mhm.
if you can do four, I mean, you're going to win the week. At that point, you will for sure win the day because many people won't
Mhm.
win one day. Be honest. I don't know if I struck a code or struck the code or what is it? I'm not setting
Cool.
it up. What is it? A chord. It's a chord, right?
Yeah.
It is a chord. See, it struck the chord right there. But if that is someone and you're like, whoa, he's talking about me, I'm not. I'm just speaking on general because this is generally what is done and at least imposed
Mhm.
onto us. And I definitely want to speak on this a little bit more because you mentioned how I'm sure, like, I guess, goal oriented, focused. I want to help you guys do the same because we can
Mhm.
all do it. I'm no magician. Did anyone teach me this? No. I think I was always just born this way to just be focused on the things that I must do. And so I want to be able to help other individuals do the same, which is why, again, these tools of the month are extremely helpful, which is providing you a little bit of what it goes on inside my life, and the things that I'm using on my day to day to help me stay focused and to be effective and to make sure that I'm communicating properly with the right people. So it's not just hey do this because you must. No, no, this is just get
Mhm.
focused. This is our life. You're in control of your own life, and so this is one of the things that I use.
Mhm. And this also is why we chose to do this monthly, is because
Mm,
there's going to be some tools that people are like, I'm not going to use this. This is just, I can just tell it's not going to fit my personality or whatever the
yeah.
case may be. This is a tough one, I think, to say that because it is so personalized that anybody, you could make it anything that you need. But certain tools that we come up with, or skills, or action items, or whatever it is, it might not fit for you. So next month it might. So just picking up what works best for you and what you think is going to be best within your lifestyle, and that's why we are choosing to do it consistently, is just to have kind of a handful of different tools. And I'm sure what we'll do, I'm coming up with this on the spot and saying we're going to do it because I think it's a good idea,
Yeah.
is compiling them into a list, and
Yeah.
like maybe we can just write a little bit of what it is and keep that. And if people need reminders, of course listen to the episode, but if people need reminders, we're more than happy to do that. And like we said, have those conversations um, outside of just listening to the episodes, and
Hmm.
helping out. And you have two very different perspectives when it comes to just kind of goal setting and accomplishing things. And so I think it'll be good conversation and insight and things like that. But yeah, that sounds good. And I was just gonna say I'm glad you kind of answered the question the way you did, because it's so important to stay positive and to be able to look. We're looking forward,
Yeah.
right? You're not looking at the year and say, oh, I lost February,
Yeah.
or whatever it is. But that's not the point of it. And just to remind ourselves to stay positive and give yourself grace, and
Hmm.
just looking to see what did I accomplish today. Um, but yeah, and I knew you would answer that way, but it's still important to hear, and to show that, like we said, whatever you're able to accomplish and whatever you're able to get into routine is super important.
It's reflection. I mean, if you lost a month, just figure out what is it that went on during that month,
Hmm.
and if there's something you can fix, hey, work towards fixing it. That's it. That's all we can do. I mean, if you're
Yeah.
gonna sit there and I lost February, no, I lost the year. Come
Hmm.
on, this is just there's
Yeah.
12 months out the year. I mean,
Yeah.
you can't lose off of just one month. Again, not everybody has great games, so eh, that's
Hmm.
just personal. Um, if you have a bad month, then you're not gonna. It's not gonna be the end of the world, essentially. But I really want to speak
Yeah.
to the person that maybe like I'll start this next week. I'll start this next month.
Hmm.
I'll
Hmm.
do that. I'll start this in the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
Start now.
Hmm.
You lose nothing by starting
Hmm.
right now.
And like we said before, start with two. Just start with two, and make them things that are things that you wanted to do anyway, things that were on your mind anyway, right? These aren't just like out of the blue, okay, Ronnie and Courtney said I need to pick some random things to accomplish.
Yeah.
No, these are two things you've already been thinking about to just make your day a little bit better or for personal growth or whatever it is. But yeah, and if it's two things, like we said, start small, 10 minutes, 10 pages, whatever, you know,
Mhm.
100 ounces of water instead of, that's kind of a lot to start with, but it's what we need, like,
Yeah.
okay, 50 ounces instead of whatever. One hydro is like 40. You could do that. We can do that in a day. Um, but yeah, starting small if we have to do it that way. But
Yeah.
yeah.
It's all going to be about the starting. Don't procrastinate on your own goals. I'm sure we all sitting here can sit with ourselves and say, what goal did I have for myself in the beginning of the year? And where are you in reference to that goal, right? And maybe this is the start where you're like, up, we're 4 months away from the end of the year. Maybe we kind of, turn the car on and kick things into gear to really get things moving towards the end of the year. Because again, Q4 is right around the corner. And at that point, once Q4 is here, the year is practically over. So can we make sure that Q4 is the best year or best quarter that we have going into the next year, so that of course we can just take that momentum and continue, because everything we preach over here is all about applying perspectives, growth, collaboration, y'all.